First of all, working at Blizzard is awesome. It's a dream job for me. So I'm really glad to be there. I work with like some really awesome people. But my day to day, so I get to work usually really early. So like I get to work usually like at 8 a.m. And usually depending on what project you're working on, you have dailies at different times, right? Some people have dailies right in the morning, but I don't. I don't have dailies in the morning, so when I get to work, usually have shots that have been assigned to me. Personally, what I like to do is I use a software to watch, the current edits, just to get psyched up. It's always nice to see the work everyone's doing. So when I watch it, I'm like just inspired, and like there's some really cool shots. I'm like, oh wow, like oh that's cool, oh that's awesome, like wow, this show is like really cool, and so that gets me in the zone. Afterwards, then I just look at the shots I have. Usually, I'm working on a sequence of shots at the same time. So I usually cut all my shots together in sequence. I watch them together with a few other animated shots before and after. And I just take a back seat and I have a look at how my shots look, what the goals of the production are, and what I want to get done before dailies that day. So like right now I have dailies later in the evening. So I just get to it. I sit at my desk and I start animating. This is, of course, having like shot reference and having prepared the previous days. So on
Is this reference that you do for yourself, or is it a reference that you guys come as a collective to make sure it's consistent?
So it depends. It depends on what's happening. So usually, when you have like shot kickoffs, or when a show is starting, right, and you get together with the directors, the producers, the editors, you leave with a clear direction of what's going on. The team is super collaborative. So sometimes you get to shoot reference as a group. Sometimes you get to shoot reference yourself. Sometimes you show the reference, sometimes you don't. Just depends on a case-by-case scenario. But usually, I talk it out. I usually like to know what the shows are about, what the intent of the shots are. I really want to get into why was this in the movie, and what do you specifically want to get out of the character at that time. So my day-to-day that I'm taking you through, when I get to work in the morning, watch the edits, this is having already done that stuff a previous day. So when I get in, I'm watching the current state of the edits, watching the current state of my shots, looking at the goals I want to hit and the notes I got previously, getting focused, I sit down and I animate. So usually
every day is like when you get in, you're always seeing a progression of it getting better and better and better.
Every day I watch not just the show or movies I'm working on, but all the ones in production. I always come in a little bit earlier so I have the time to like always, I don't know, I like the top level. I like seeing, because when you watch, let's say I'm working on movie A and movie B and C are happening at the same time, when you see them fully in context, you start to appreciate what makes the specific one you're on unique, because they're different. And that helps you when you then focus on it to understand why this is different from the other shows. That way, it just helps me get into the mood and the energy I need to deliver what that show needs. So when I sit back and I'm like, okay, so this show had this style, and I noticed that because while comparing it to the other ones, it really feels this way. And I'm usually super communicative. So when I'm working on a shot and I feel like, so I get in 8 a.m. working on my shots. Sometimes I do quick passes all the time. Sometimes I ping the leads like, hey, I just sent out a new pass. Do you want to check it out? Let me know what you think. Sometimes they come over. Sometimes I go to them. If I can't reach them, I'm always like bugging a teammate. And it's amazing the kind of stuff you can find out from like just fresh eyes. Like sometimes it's the simplest stuff, but because you get so focused on like small details, like.
Yeah, that's really important, fresh eyes. Like I think it's most important when you're ending a shot on the day and you're like, oh, I know if I start going into this limb or this part of the animation, I'm gonna be here all night. Let me just stop. And then you'll come in the morning and be like, this don't look that bad. This looks pretty good. I don't know if I need to touch this, or I'll come back to it later.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so I try, luckily I have like a sit-stand desk.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Those
so
are nice.
I keep switching that up every hour, just like so I don't even know if my posture right now is pretty
good.
Yeah. But just so I can take care of my body. So I usually sit and work till like noon, because like that's when I take my lunches. Sometimes I take my lunches by myself if I want to like catch up on a book and stuff. But usually I meet up with my teammates and we get to bond a little bit, because like,
it's important.
Yeah, it's nice to know who you're working with and build those relationships, because like other animators are so talented and such, like, well, we're blessed that we work in a field where like the kind of people who are attracted to it and not the kind of people who want to just be rich and famous, because it's hard work, right? So most of the personalities are actually really fun and awesome to be around. So I try my best to like bond with the animators I'm with, get to know them personally, learn their stories, because that's what we do. We make movies to share all our unique stories. And like, man, there's so many talented, fascinating people who just like leave you inspired, cheer you up. Because, you know, sometimes you're feeling a little bit down, someone's a little bit brings that energy, or sometimes someone's feeling down and you bring that energy. And it's awesome. So you get back to your desk after lunch and you're like, feel fired up again, and you can make it through the food coma because you have a little bit of energy left. And usually I work through the end of the day. Usually later in the evening I have dailies. So I have a rule, 30 minutes before dailies, I submit a pass for dailies 30 minutes before dailies. Those last 30 minutes, I'm not doing anything I'm showing that day. Because I've found out that when I'm trying to get something in the last minute, I usually like rush it. I don't give it the time it deserves because I'm trying to get it in last minute. So I'm like, no, if that's really important, I'll tell them I'm planning to do it within the showing. Otherwise, I'm like, I'll get it in the next day.
That's smart. That's wise. That's a good way to do it. So you don't feel rushed.
Yeah.
You don't go in there sweating bullets because you know you didn't do your best on the last,
exactly,
what you worked on
and
last.
sometimes you do that last minute thing and it totally, because animation, you move one thing, it may cascade into a lot of changes. Yeah. So I do
what's all these twitches in the arm?
Exactly.
Oh, I was trying to change this for the thing. My render's busted. There's no time for excuses when you go in and showing in front of everybody.
Yeah, and plus when you have a big production, there's a lot of people, time is money.
Yeah.
So I don't want to waste your time. I don't want you to waste my time. So it's like, besides, you know, I know when dailies is. So like 3 hours after lunch, before my dailies, I know that by this time, I must have it at a place where I intend to show. And then I always save that version of like, this is the version I want to show today. Everything I'm doing is more. So I don't necessarily have to show that right now. If I do get it done in time, awesome. But if I don't, I manage to get the crucial parts that needed to be sold to the director early. And then usually at the end of the day, I go back home. Work is really good at making sure you go home in time. They take care of us. So
that's good. It sounds like there's a good culture there.
Yeah,
so you don't have to.
Culture's amazing.
Don't have to do crunch. But we all know what crunch is for. It's for those passionate people who are like, I got to get this done. I got to get this done. I want to get it done so I have joy in the work I'm doing. And then I can go home happy.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's awesome.